Hey, yo, what's the deal? That's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag, you know what I mean? As of this recording, it is 4:33 p.m., January 18th, 2026. I keep saying fucking 25. 26. But the upload time to this is 11:30, and this is the last video of the night. This is the last video of the day, period. You know what I mean? This is the first discussion video of the day, too. Believe it or not. And right now I'm watching the football game. And I just came back from the kitchen. I mean, I have to throw out some garbage. You know what I mean? I ate some cookies for the game. New England is busting ass as it just recording. You know what I mean? Derek Maine is a great quarterback. Motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like right now they just got an intel against the Texans. You know what I mean? Let me put this on mute because I can't concentrate with two things at the same time. Now, I mean, I'll definitely watch the game after. So, what I want to talk about today is I want to go back to memory lane. I want to bring you back to memory lane and such. And for my OGs, I remember back in '99. Yes, I'm taking it back in 1999 when Public Enemy when they were free agents, right? They decided to go sign with WWE, right? Public Enemy was they were a great tag team in ECW, but they definitely were not a bad tag team in WCW either. WWE wanted to expand on their, on their tag team division by bringing in Public Enemy to go against the likes of, the Outlaws and all the other teams that were there, right? However, there was a bit of a problem. There was a bit of a problem with Public Enemy. So apparently both Johnny Grudge and Rocco Rock, they didn't want to do business. They didn't want to do fucking business. You know what I mean? They didn't, they came with an attitude. You know what I mean? They had an attitude backstage. You know what I'm saying? They refused to do jobs. Like they basically was like reckless. So they came in as divas. Yeah, I mean, they came in as divas. Like, oh, fuck that. We don't want to work. Oh, we're not going to put these people over and blah, blah, blah. Right? Now, mind you, these motherfuckers came from ECW too. You know what I mean? They're both from South Philly. Right? They're both from South Philly. So you would think that, these motherfuckers would be humble and everything else. And mind you, ECW already had a reputation. Now, I mean, all across the industry, right? As, people who like to work reckless and everything else. That changed when the Dudley Boys came in. You know what I mean? But Public Enemy nearly fucked it up. They nearly fucked it up. So, WWE was like, all right, no problem. No problem. You don't want to do jobs? All right. No doubt. No doubt. So they started working, they had a match with the APA, right? Bradshaw and Ron Simmons. And man, did these motherfuckers get a wake-up call. You know what I mean? Bradshaw and I guess they were tipped off, by WWE agents and such, saying, tell them that, Public Enemy, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want to do jobs for y'all. You know what I mean? They want to change the finish. You know what I mean? They refuse to lose to you guys and whatnot. And mind you, Public Enemy basically underestimated both Bradshaw and Farouk, with their toughness. That match, I put it in the description. That match on Sunday Night Heat was brutal. The APA, they weren't even called the APA yet. They were still called the Acolytes. Both Bradshaw and Ron Simmons came in immediately. I mean, you see them, they just walked straight into the ring. Like you knew they was there for a purpose. They ran and they fucked up Public Enemy in a way that it was insane. Like they stiffed the shit out these motherfuckers. They wouldn't let these motherfuckers get any kind of offense at all. None. You know what I mean? And then after that, that was it. They sent Public Enemy packing. This is something that you probably will never see in pro wrestling today, ever. And you know what? I got to give Bradshaw and Farouk props because if I'm working, you come to my home. Now, I mean, you that's like you come to my crib, right? And, all of a sudden you put your feet up. Now you feel like you run the place. Oh, really? I bet. I remember like some 19 years ago, right? And I can say her name. I don't give a fuck. Now, I mean, I dated this bitch named Eleanor, right? You know what I'm saying? Some dark-skinned chick from, who used to live right there in Ralph Avenue. She was at a shelter, right? She's at a shelter. Like, we liked each other and everything, but, she was a beautiful female. Don't get me wrong. But her attitude was just really funky. Like, she would come in and she she feel like she runs the place and everything. She did something to me that I personally didn't like. I mean, she did a lot of things that I didn't like. She basically tried to keep me hostage and such, right? Like she's sensitive and everything else. I mean, with a bitchy attitude. So, and she likes to start shit. She did something that I didn't like. And I just changed my whole attitude from there after. You know what I mean? Like the way I spoke to her and stuff like, yo, get the fuck up out of here. Bounce. Since then, and then after I broke up with her, she tried to get back at me like, nah, fuck that. Fuck that shit. Since then, I had to have a fucked up attitude toward her. The way I came off towards her, you know what I mean? I had to have a fucked up attitude towards her. Cause sometimes you gotta push. You know what I mean? Like, she gives you shit, you give her shit. You know what I mean? You gotta back certain people down. And I'm not saying for all, but for someone like her, I had to back her down. Down to a point where even still to this day, you know what I mean? And I seen a picture on Facebook. You know what I mean? How the fuck, here's my thing, right? How the fuck you are a year younger than me? Actually, like, let me see. She's 2 years younger than me. She's 2 years younger than me. And this bitch looks like she's in her mid to late 50s, early 60s. Glasses and everything. Like, oh man. She was a dime, but her attitude was not great. You know what I mean? But the moral of the story is someone comes into your crib, they have an attitude and everything. You do what the fuck you need to do to teach them respect. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what I did to her. You know what I mean? I didn't hit her or anything, but I cursed her out from top to bottom. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I had to. But with the APA and with the APA and Public Enemy, this is, like I said, this is a cautionary tale where, you can't just come in and make demands and everything else like you run shit. Like, who the fuck is you? I mean, like, who the fuck is you, B? Seriously. You know what I mean? You will definitely never see this kind of thing in today's pro wrestling because just like what I said earlier today, you know what I mean, about, how the rumor of WWE talents worrying about their spot because of incoming AEW talent coming in. You know what I mean? Like, that's bullshit. Like, that wouldn't happen. But also you have to remember this too at the time. There was still a war between WWE and the WWF and WCW. You know what I mean? So, but what made it a little bit more distasteful was the fact that Public Enemy came from ECW. You know what I mean? And so, it's almost like, they gave the reputation that, we don't want to do jobs, that we can do whatever we want and stuff. And I'm pretty sure that, both Farouk and Bradshaw had reservations about both Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley coming into the WWE later that year, right? But, both both Bubba and Devon are both professionals. Like, they and I'm pretty sure they were pissed off that Public Enemy nearly fucked that up for him. Nearly. But, business came and, like they were stiff, and then the Dudley boys were stiff. You know what I mean? But the Dudley boys didn't have attitudes and such. You know what I mean? Like they came and they did business the right way and stuff. And such, they didn't come with attitudes and everything. The only thing I know about the Dudley boys was that, and you know what? I fucks with Devon. You know what I mean? And I fucks with Bubba Ray. What they wanted to do is they wanted to say, oh, we want to be old school heels. We don't want to sign autographs and everything, because we're heels. And then Vince is like, no, you're going to sign autographs. Like, yeah, we'll sign autographs. We'll sign autographs and everything. You know what I mean? But again, that's like the only thing. But if I'm the APA, I would have done the exact same shit. You know what I mean? And both, Johnny Grudge and Rocco Rock, I don't know what the fuck happened to them after. You know what I mean? They probably did more, more indies and such. I know both has passed since. You know what I mean? Rest in peace to both, Johnny Grudge and Rocco Rock. But, at the time, shit. Man, you come into this promotion, right? You come into the World Wrestling Federation and you wanna call shots or refuse to do jobs and everything else. Like they fucked up. They fucked up, Public Enemy in ways that, like I said, you probably will never see that those kind of beatings today. And in pro wrestling, in today's pro wrestling landscape, the only thing that you probably the closest that you probably will get, or it's not what Alberto Del Rio did to Sin Cara, but that was a whole different situation. That's when they had beef with each other. I mean, this was more of a matter of respect. You know what I mean? Like you try to disrespect us. You try to disrespect the World Wrestling Federation. They gave you a chance, right? And you basically fucked it up with your attitude and not wanting to do jobs and everything else. So they had your asses packing back to Philly. You know what I mean? I don't think they came back to ECW after. I don't think so. Nah. Like, I don't know, man. But yeah. Like I said, I remember that shit clearly. Anyway, guys, I'm about to be out. You know what I'm saying? I will be coming with another video. So I will be coming with Vince tomorrow. Apparently, there's some news from Sean Ross Sapp about some contracts. So, and speaking of contracts, there's a little bit of a bonus too. So apparently, Jay White's contract is not up until 2027 with no timetable of his return. And so basically, he's gone to. Basically, Switchblade is going to. WWE is going to want the Switchblade. They're definitely going to want, Jay White. I would too. I think Jay White would be great for NXT. You built them up all the way to, to the main roster, everything else. Anyway, guys, I'm out. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.